All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, January 24th. This is the Merrimack Village District Board of Commissioners monthly regular scheduled meeting. I'll call the meeting to order at 5:04 p.m. And I just want to read a statement. The public participation will be offered in person by webinar, in person and by webinar. You may join the webinar by going to a Zoom link that is included on today's agenda. And that agenda for today's meeting is on the mvdwater.org website. Or you can call 646-876-9923 and enter the webinar ID 864-1953-8789. And as a courtesy, Merrimack TV is also recording this meeting and will be posted on their website on channel 20 typically in the future. So today we're going to go through a roll call of board members after we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I just wanted to confirm that this meeting, we have four commissioners here, so we have a quorum of 3. That quorum is virtual, it's not in the room. And because of that, I need to declare an emergency that we are not having a quorum in the room at the MVD office. And that's because of the elevated COVID cases. So we feel that it would be safer for the commissioners to participate remotely. So we have 4 participating commissioners remotely. So with that being said, I think the next thing we can do is go into the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll have Ron initiate that from the MVD office.
Pledge allegiance
to the
Flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, great. So we can go through a roll call of board members and their location. I'll start myself, Don Preventure. I'm from my home at 6 Wasserman Heights. I'm alone in the room. Wolf?
Wolf Fontaine at my home, 4 Conservation Drive in Merrimack, and I'm by myself in the room.
Thank you. Ken?
This is Ken Ayers at my home, 19 Jakes Lane, Merrimack.
Thanks. And John?
John Lyons, 25 Windsor Drive, Merrimack, New Hampshire. I am unaccompanied.
Thank you. And over at the MVD office at 2 Greens Pond Road, we've got Ron Minor, Superintendent. We got Jill Lavoie, Business Manager, Michelle Holton, Human Resource and Finance. So first on the agenda is we're going to do the analysis of revenue and expenditures report. So Michelle, you can go ahead and walk us through if you could.
Don, I'm sorry to interrupt. A quick comment, reminder that I have to leave here at 6:30 and jump out of the meeting. So the more we can get done until then, the better.
Right.
Well, Michelle had a lot of coffee today. She's going to talk fast.
Oh, I also wanted to mention that Paul McLaughlin cannot make it to the meeting tonight, so he's been excused. That's our 5th commissioner, but we still have 4 here, so we're good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, being through December, we are 50% through the year. Looking at our income, we are 56.36% of budget, and our expenses are 42.32% of budget. Last year, percentage-wise of budget, income was at 51.1% and expenses at 43.41%. So we are over 5 percentage points above on the income piece and about 1% actual to budget below expenses from last year as a percentage of budget. Dollars to dollars, our income change is almost $417,000 for income. a change of 19.8%, and our expenses are almost $106,000, which is a 5.92% increase dollar to dollar. Our net ordinary income for this year is almost $628,000. Last year was $317,000. The main driver is the income side. Dollar for dollar being 19.8% or $417,000 above where we were last year. As far as specifics, if we want to, that was just a high level summary on the P&L previous year comparison. Does anyone have any specific questions on comparison to previous year, that first report?
All right.
As I said, overall, we're doing significantly better income-wise, and about the same percentage-wise to budget on expenses. And that represent dollars of about $106,000 over what we spent last year, but because of the budget change, percentage-wise, we're just a percentage point off.
Okay.
So any questions on previous year comparison?
Nope, I think we're good. Move on
Okay.
to
So then, the income and expenses budget versus actual for this year. We have the same trend going with revenues as we've seen in prior months. So those have improved over last year, and most of the revenues that we would expect to see performing better and above budget are, as far as the expense side of things, there's just a few things to note that have changed that we haven't already reviewed in the past months. So on the expense budget versus actual, if you look to the middle of the page, there's an account 50120, turnover costs. And about a couple of sections down below, there's 50220, turnover costs, treatment and distribution. The first one I mentioned was admin. We're breaking those pieces out. They had previously been part of wages, but both for NHRS reporting, because some of these income streams are not subject to the NHRS pension plan contributions, and also for informational purposes for us, as we have had retirements in more turnovers than we have historically. This is something we want to be able to clearly see what's happening there. So that's something new that we added to the breakout, as we did to this year's budget that we discussed in our work sessions. The second page, purchase of water has gone up. Account 60300 has gone up to $58,000. We will be doing a reclass, since not all of this is to be paid from budget, but that's something that Ron and I want to review the PUC and Penachuk agreements, just to see how we need to track everything. So for right now, we've allowed it to remain there. And account 70020, rentals. We are above budget there. It's a smaller overall dollar line item, but that was for mainline breaks. We had an excavator for a couple of weeks, as well as needing to get modular shield panels.
Wolf, got a question?
Yeah, Michelle, quick question. So actually that it's kind of in the same line of thinking. The rentals due to the water main breaks and account 50202 field staff overtime on call is 178%, 179% over budget here right now. Is that also related to the water main breaks? And if so, are we invoicing for those hours and for the rental for those people that have caused some of those water main line breaks?
Actually, part of that rental was for an explorer. We had to locate the water main on Continental. That was the excavator and the additional trench box and shoring. So that would not be billed out. But to answer your question, Wolf, yes, if the break was due to a strike, we do bill those out.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the last page, account 90000, capital budget expense. And we will have this broken out for next month. But budget wise, the 102,000, that is, I just wanted to let you know what that's made up of, because we will see costs coming in related to these other items. There is 14,000 for the CUSI billing system, but the total for the year is 30,000, and we do anticipate spending that. The mini splits came in at $7,300. The budget was 14,000, but 7,300 was the actual final total. The ESRI for $10,000, the GIS software, that stands at the budgeted price of 10,000. Truck was budgeted for 26,000. We are currently looking at the state bids and talking with several dealers to see what our options are there. Pricing obviously is above the 26,000. We will also be talking with them about leasing options, but as we've mentioned, with a lot of the customization we do with our vehicles, we often run into an issue with leasing, but it is something that we are gathering information on. And the other two items that bring us to the 102 are a trailer for 7,000 and $15,000 for the town project deductible. So that's something that we'll only see if there's a project that we are deemed to have a deductible commitment to the town. Otherwise, all the areas where we may be over on expense, we've discussed before, but if anyone has any particular questions on income or expenses, please let me know.
So I just have a question on,
Sure.
if you be really quick on this, I don't want to take too much time. I know we're trying to move things along, but like line item 50108 administrative sick payout. Is that, so we paid out $13,000, I guess, is that year to date, right? So if we pay that out, does that mean our normal wages that we would have paid are reduced? I'm just curious.
No, what that is, it's something we budget for separately. When staff have accumulated a 6-week bank of sick time, when we are rolling into the next calendar year, and they will be then given 2 additional weeks of sick time, those 2 weeks are paid out to them because they have accumulated the 6-week required bank to receive the payout. So that's an annual payout. We usually do that right before the Christmas holiday.
All right, so
even
this
though it
is
is for the coming
okay. So
health
this
year.
is not money that's paid out because they were out sick. This is money that's paid because they weren't out sick.
Correct. It's one of the policies
All right.
that
Okay.
once they have the accumulated bank, that
Oh,
will
I
be paid
wasn't
out.
understanding that correctly. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why we broke out the turnover costs. So those are related to retirements, resignations.
Okay.
And where you're seeing just purely sick payout under the admin or field salaries, that's the annual sick payout.
So with all the,
Above the bank.
with all the COVID outages we've had recently, has anybody run over their allotted sick days?
Well, we had, for a time, We had sick payout and we did have some reimbursement mechanisms through, actually, we submitted that $12,000 that we had mentioned, let's see, I think it was the end of third quarter. So it would have gone in October, that we're allowed to get a reimbursement through our payroll taxes for any COVID pay that we had covered folks. But as of the beginning of this year, we've now let staff know that when they are out for COVID, because there's no federal requirement for us to extend beyond what we already have as far
Right.
as COVID sick. So we've said from here on out, time out for COVID is coming out of your regular sick bank.
And what determines when someone that's out with COVID is able to come back to work? Is it like a testing thing that says that they're free of the virus before they come back, or is it an automatic 5-day or 10-day quarantine that they can't work, or how's that determined?
We get the guidelines both from CDC, from the state of New Hampshire. I also usually get, the schools are very good at doing a matrix on how to determine the best course as far as a combination of folks who need to isolate, quarantine, and also testing. So it's a combination also of symptoms. So something like no fever, at least 24 hours without fever reducing medicine, all symptoms improving. And then also the negative tests can't be a requirement to come back to work because people can continue to test positive for beyond 90 days after testing positive initially. So it's not uncommon for people to continue to test positive. So we just go by a certain amount of isolation, depending on if they're vaccinated or not. And then from there, the symptom evaluation.
So someone who's not vaccinated gets extra time paid out?
Historically, yes, because the quarantine time for them is longer because per the CDC, it's just believed that their viral load and the degree to which they could spread the virus is greater than someone who is
So that I have a
vaccinated.
problem with that, because that's an incentive for our employees to not get vaccinated, so they can have a longer time out of work if they're sick from COVID.
But it's also something that we're doing to protect our other employees from getting sick.
So I'm thinking maybe the employees who are out sick or that can't come back to work because they have a 10-day instead of a 5-day quarantine. I think they should only get paid for 5 days because it's not fair to those who do get vaccinated.
Well, as of the
We
beginning of
can-
this year, we're taking it out of their sick time, their own sick time, their regular sick time, not COVID sick time. Last year,
Right.
we did have sort of a separate bank for COVID related.
Yeah, so I guess that's money
Okay.
they wouldn't get back at the end if they ever left the position. That would be less payout that they would be getting because they would have
Correct.
used that sick time.
Correct.
All right, okay, that's helpful to know.
Hey, Michelle, I think I said that before, but are we creating reserves for the untaken paid time off?
Yes, yes.
So they
We
are
have- we
on
have
the
a-
balance sheet?
Yeah, we have both accrued vacation and sick time. That we
And they're on the
update
balance
it
sheet.
once a year at the end of the year.
Sure, but they are carried over on the balance sheet year after year, so we have that liability captured. Okay.
Correct,
you.
yes. You're
Ask
welcome.
a question on that?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the thinking is in terms of having a policy that pays out sick time that was not used.
Is there a cap on that?
There a law or something that says you have to do that?
No, it's been practiced. It's something that we've seen in some of the collective bargaining agreements and the other municipal communities, that you accumulate a certain amount of time and then over and above that can be paid out.
Yeah.
It's something that's been a practice here
It's always been a practice, as far as I
yes,
know.
at least 20 years, if not longer.
And that's only on the sick time. Vacation time, if you do not use it, you lose it.
Oh,
We don't
that's
get-
why That's why many employers went to PTO, general PTO, and don't distinguish between sick time and vacation days anymore. So I'm not sure I agree with that. I personally like the PTO approach better than sick time, because sick time always opens room for shenanigans like this. But that's a different story.
What happens with the PTO, Wolf? Does it get paid out or not get paid out?
Usually, the way I know it is, use it or lose it.
Yeah, I'd be against if somebody asked me my opinion, I would be against paying out accrued sick time. I think that's
I agree.
Is there a cap?
It's
there-
not an uncommon practice. My work does that. You allow to earn up so many hours of sick time. And then if after a certain cutoff, I think it's like 240 hours, for instance, then there is a payout. It is a very common practice. It's
I've had it at prior employers too.
It's a benefit to employees. I mean, they're saving their time, and they're at the max, but if they have surgery or something like that and they need to be out, or it's a nice benefit to have. And to take away from the employees, I disagree with that.
And also, we do require the 6-week bank, because that does give employees that added level of financial security if they do have to go out on the short-term or long-term disability, because that pays out at 60%. So they're allowed to incrementally use the bank. But as I said, the payout is a fairly common practice.
Yeah, I hear you that it's common practice. I just can't imagine. I mean, I give 3 sick days a year, so nobody's getting 6 weeks with me. Sorry. But I do give unlimited COVID pay for anybody who's vaccinated. I will say that.
Can somebody tell me if there, I know we're getting off the subject, but just, this is my last question on it. Is there a cap on the amount of sick days you can accrue and get paid out?
It's
6 weeks.
6 weeks, and then the 2 weeks every calendar year, when 2 weeks would be added. Whatever would bring you above those 6 weeks is paid out to you.
Oh, so there is no cap then?
Well, no, you only are getting 2 more weeks
You can,
At the most.
at the most.
You're gonna get paid, you're gonna get paid for every sick day that you're allowed to take, if you take it or not.
no, if you take it, you don't get paid for it. Well, yes, I guess you do. You get it as a regular pay. It's not a extra payout.
Yeah,
Yeah, those 2 weeks
Why don't
every
we-
week. They have,
we gotta probably. kick
Why
this
don't we put that
around.
as an agenda item for one of the future meetings if it's of importance?
yep, we
I
can
just
circle
think-
back to that.
I think we just don't know it well, so I think we just want to get familiar with it.
Okay,
All right,
okay, we can circle back to that at some point. Any other questions on the financials for income or expenses or general?
no, I didn't have anything. Anybody else have any questions on the
Okay. I'm good.
expenditures or revenues?
Anything on bank balances? Last page of reporting?
Nope,
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. So good to move on to the salary schedule per
Right.
the compensation study.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward. We had, with this updated salary schedule, we had an extensive discussion about it. I think, in summary, we all understand where you're coming from. This is based on not having adjusted the salary ranges for the last 10 years. This is based on extensive study with comparable districts and municipalities. None of this has a direct and immediate effect on anybody's compensation except for one person that was below the minimum, the new minimum. And it does open up the room for further increases for those people that have been maxed for a number of years. So if that summarizes it correctly, I'm in favor of, I'm moving to accept the salary schedule as proposed.
I just have one point that I'd like us to clarify. Initially, I had just put an effective date of 1/1/2022 on this when we had put it together. Because I thought we would have reviewed earlier than we have. I understand we had said there's the one person who would need to be brought up to the minimum of their range. Two people in particular that we have mentioned that have not had reviews in a significant amount of time. One dating back to 2014 was their last merit increase, although and the other is 2013. And both of them have had positive reviews that would have been given raises, 3% raises repeatedly, but they were maxed. So we're looking at 8 and 9 years since they've had reviews. And I noticed that their review dates are April and June. So I was asking that we could consider both for that reason, and also we're in the middle of recruiting right now, that we would make the salary schedule effective perhaps 2/1/22, February 1st. So it would enable the folks who have been maxed to, according to how their performance evaluation deems, receive a merit increase up to the 3. And we would have the current, more up-to-date salary ranges available to us to make offers to current candidates for the open positions.
I don't think we can do that because we haven't planned for this budget-wise. So I would not be in favor of any of those suggestions. And, timing is timing. I don't think that we should be approving this prior to approving the budget that comes with it.
The one thing is we are down 3 staff. So we have that budget piece, that's bringing the budget below where it would have been.
I understand that, but I think we're down with 3 staff because we had some unaddressed concerns from that staff. I'm not sure if the budget and I understand it's going to make it easier to fill those positions. But again, we have a budget that we had presented to the voter last year, and we got approved that budget by the voter, and making a salary compensation change of that magnitude. I'm not comfortable of approving that without getting the new budget in front of the voters.
Well, if I think she's trying to say that because of these openings, we'll be under budget and we'll have room in the budget for it. We're talking about 3%. Is that what we're doing? We're not like backdating.
No.
No, we're not giving people,
We're talking about
we're not doing anything retro. We're not making people adjustments for the sake of bringing them anywhere into their range or something like that. I was just saying for people who have upcoming performance evaluations, particularly the 2 that I noted that haven't had them in 8 and 9 years, merit increases.
They'll have to wait another whole year before they would be eligible for a merit raise.
I think if you could show us the budget could handle it, I would be open to it. I don't know if that changes Wolf's mind, but if the budget could handle it, I'd be open to it.
I would at least say for the new hires coming on. And actually, right now, it would be 1 new hire because
that would be super unfair, wouldn't it, for those people that we want to retain? So I would be totally against that. I mean, I rather want to value the people that we have already invested on for the last 17 years that have been pending that kind of raise instead of penalizing them. So
what, you mentioned there were some people that hadn't been reviewed in 8 or 9 years?
they had not received merit increases. They were reviewed. Their reviews actually noted that their supervisors.
That's a very different thing.
Yes.
Yeah, would like to, the supervisors repeatedly said, I would approve a 3% merit increase, but this employee is maxed out.
Oh,
And I just, when I was looking at higher anniversary dates, I just saw that particularly one person caught my eye. I'm like, oh, their review's in June and we're going to make this effective July 1st. And then tell them, well, we have finally upped the schedule to reflect the wage study, but now you have to wait over a year to be eligible for a merit increase. And
Right, but
that's why,
had we done the rate study 3 or 4 years ago, we wouldn't have this conversation, right? That this person had to wait several years. I don't know. I just feel we're opening up the floodgates. You know, we have the cost of living increase that we wave through at full level as proposed. We have, or we will wave through the way it looks. You know, we have the merit increase. I don't know. I'm not feeling comfortable with that.
Why
think
can't we
this-
just say, I'm sorry, Wolf, why can't we say as of July 1st, your new rate will be this? You know, why do they have to wait a year? Why do, as of July 1st, when the new budget goes in, then they'll get their raise? Then you'd be starting from, you know, January 1st.
starting from July 1st, Ken?
July
or-
1st, sorry,
Oh,
July.
okay, okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, worst case, do mid-year review, you know. I
So
don't
that
think
we could-
anybody's opposed to that, but at least we're within the fiscal period. We're making a decision now for the fiscal period that we're gonna get a budget approval for. Do
So for
mid-year
the-
reviews.
So for those reviews that are near, or say our last quarter, we could do the review and then just say whatever the merit increase proposed, if they are maxed, we'll simply say it will not become effective until July 1st.
It's just a thought, instead of making them wait a year.
Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying there.
I don't see why we couldn't. I mean,
Yeah, and also on our, I don't know what we're gonna run into on our recruitment efforts. I know that our hourly wage was an issue that was brought up repeatedly last spring, late winter and spring when we were recruiting for a field tech position. So I don't know there, perhaps we could have a starting range and after an introductory period, usually we do a 50-cent adjustment. Perhaps we could have something to bring them up a bit further within the new range after a successful introductory period.
I'd like, if we're gonna approve these rate increases, I'd like them to be available when we're trying to fill positions. I think it'll be more of a draw for filling positions. That's if that's been the communication you've heard in the past, that our pay was too low, that would help that. So I like the idea of having this available to people. But again, it should also be available to existing. I wouldn't want to hire someone new that's making more money than someone in the same position that's been here. That's not fair either. So I don't know how to make those two meet.
Well, no, I think that saying the evaluation's done last quarter, adjust July 1st, I think that's reasonable. And I think that will make the existing staff feel like we thought it through in that we wanted it to have a positive impact on them, you know, once we determined this change was necessary. But I also, as I said, for recruitment efforts, our max range on the field tech is $20.64 currently. And there are a lot of openings out there well above that. So I would think that a little bit of leeway there would help us potentially in our recruitment efforts. We could bring them on and say that as of July 1st, there will be another adjustment.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Would, you know, how would a new hire look at that? Say, well, we can only hire you with this right now, but on July 1st, your level's going up to this, so you might
It's
be.
not that uncommon. I do that all the
No,
time.
that's why
with
I'm
people,
asking.
you know.
It seems like it would work, but I just wanted to.
The issue is, again, I mean, look at you have from a political standpoint, look at it, right? We're talking about a fairly high cost of living increase, right? That we understand why it's out there, fully understand that the inflation and everything, cost of living increase, you know, or the increase of cost of living is there, no doubt about it. Everybody feels it. and we're talking about merit increases, and they're not only, I mean, they're stacked, right? So we're talking up to 8% for some people here. Then we're
8.9,
talking about,
right?
what's that?
8.9 when you factor in the 3% performance plus the 5.9 COLA.
Didn't we talk 5%? I think not 5.9. Either way, but yeah.
5%.
Oh, sorry, okay,
5.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
So yeah. So I mean, 8% stacked cost of living increase is significant. It's not small jump change, right? It's significant. Then we're also talking about some people that, for unfortunate reasons, and I don't think the board was aware of that until last week. There's some people that have not seen a annual review and according increase in basically 2 fiscal years right now, or at least 1.5. So it's stacked on top of that as well, right? So we're even going past the 8% there. And I understand why we're doing this, and I think that's fair. It's not the employee's fault that this review wasn't held. But now we're also opening up the salary bracket. So anybody that is affected by any of the things that I just mentioned is now, that may have been excluded from some of these increases, is now all of a sudden included, right? Now that's great for the individual, but for the budget, it's a triple whammy, right? Quadruple whammy now we're talking. Where does it stop, right? I mean, it's a floodgate, and I'm not comfortable with that until we have the new fiscal year and the new budget out there. I think that's too much. Where does it end? It's just stacked and stacked and stacked on top of each other.
I think it's more catching up as opposed to anything else where it's been
Yeah, but that's
8-9 years.
But that's not the current fiscal year's issue. Then we have to put that into the next fiscal year as a planning period, as a line item for the plan, for the fiscal plan, and then we address it next year.
So in both instances, would you be open to approving that we do the reviews last quarter with the proposed merit increase allowed to be effective July 1st with passing of the budget? And any new hires could be hired at a certain level with perhaps something beyond the normal 50 cents introductory increase to bring them up to a rate that they would find more acceptable coming on, perhaps now, but be willing to wait the few months for July.
I would be fine with that, and those are, deals I make with employees all the time, specifically when I bring them in, because they have to go through some certification programs first anyway, at times. So I'd be okay with that, but again, this is just my opinion. Maybe the other commissioners see no problem in this at all. So don't get too hung up on that. Maybe I made a motion. If anybody wants to amend the motion, then please say so.
And also clarify the effective date, because I did have January 1st on this.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna mention. So you made the motion if you want.
I said as proposed, it says here July 1st.
Okay. So motion by Wolf. Is there a second on that? I'll second that. So if there's no further discussion, I guess we can take a vote. I guess, John, you want to say anything?
Could you just clarify, are we agreeing with what Michelle's asking for in terms of bumps effective July 1st, or are we not agreeing with that? With this motion?
Yeah, I think that's what was included in your motion was July 1st effective, right?
Yes, but allowing for the reviews second quarter to have the rates that we determined would come about from a merit increase be given to them this year, July 1st. And also for new recruits, we may hire them at $20, but maybe we're giving them $1.50, or I'm just picking numbers. We give them $1.50 increase July 1st instead of the 50 cents. So that we get them to a salary that they would have preferred to have to start, but are willing to work with us on through the two budgets.
And I just want to make one comment. It's not that I don't, appreciate anybody that is affected by that. And I think we have a great staff in general, but we also have a lot of people out there that are on fixed income. they're not gonna get an 8% raise this year. You know, and then, you know, they're just not. And I think we have to take that into consideration. I do want to say there's a couple of dates on that page that seem to be outdated for me. It says 2021 to 2022, new schedule, 2021 is over.
That was that's the existing, that was as a reference in the
Okay.
packet.
And no, that was actually, it was 2021 to 2022 because we were initially putting in the January 1st effective date of this fiscal year. And we're changing from that now, but we were
Okay.
saying, were we going to make it effective in this fiscal year is why we left that.
Okay, it's also saying as per budget approval on March 30th, 2021, which is probably no longer applicable.
Well, we had left that because technically we would still only be working off of that budget.
Okay,
And we were just wanting to be clear that we weren't assuming that the 2023 fiscal year budget was approved. All we
Okay.
would have to work on during these 6 months or 5 months now would be the budget that we have. And as I said, we were saying, well, we have some leeway because we've been down staff, so we could perhaps make it work. And that's why we left those numbers just to kind of stand out so that we knew what timeframes we were talking.
okay.
Can I just clarify something too on this? I mean, no matter what we do, I don't think we're compounding as much as Wolf says we're compounding. Because the only people that are being excluded from that 3% merit increase right now are those that are at the max of the salary scale. So the only thing you'd be doing is giving those two people the 8.9% rather than the 5.9%. It's not like they're getting 11.9 because we changed the date. We just made them eligible for the 8.9 that everybody else is eligible for. So, you know, my feeling is that whether it begins July 1st and we make those raises effective for July 1st, or whether we make them now, if the budget would allow for it, that's fair. It's not going to kill the budget to have those two people who are at the max, who are clearly senior people and have gotten good reviews, an extra 3% because they haven't had anything in 8 to 9 years. Effectively, they've been on the fixed budget.
Well,
If anybody wants, go ahead.
I have they have been getting COLAs every year, so they have been getting some kind of increase. When does the COLA go into effect? Would that be July 1st?
July 1st.
So you're asking, it's really getting kind of confusing because in a sense, here we are, we're trying to do this, and then you're asking for other stuff ahead of time. So it's kind of like it's all over the
Yeah.
place.
That's kind of my point. And really the only thing we're doing is we're staying that increase until July. That's all we're doing. No matter, in July, all of those employees would be applicable for those additional increases, including those that are currently capped.
And what came up for me was looking at the review dates being April and June. I didn't want them to have to wait until April and June of 2023. So opening up the July 1st option, I think is reasonable. And I think that does solve the situation there where we still acknowledge them and now open up the range going forward.
Hey, guys, I just want to point something out too. Ken, are you going to stay with us?
Yeah, I'm in my car.
Okay, I just want to double check because I knew he was going to get his daughter, and if we lose Wolf at 6:30, we're not going to be able to vote on some of these things, including the minutes and stuff if we don't start.
Well, actually, December minutes you won't be able to vote on anyways because I wasn't there.
Oh,
So we have a motion on the table. Does anybody want to amend that by changing the effective date earlier than July 1st, 2022?
So I'm fine with leaving it July 1st if we do what Michelle said, and that is, allow the folks that are affected by it right now to have their raise effective July 1st. And to have something that says if we hire somebody and then raise the scale, we'll bring them to the minimum July 1st. But I don't think that wording was in the motion, so that was just something that Michelle had proposed, and
Mhm.
I think you concurred with and agreed to, so I would agree to that as well. If
And
we
just
want to
to
do it that way.
clarify, I wasn't talking about just bringing someone to the minimum. If we have a stronger candidate, the max right now for a field tech is $20.64. The new max will be $24.89. So I was saying perhaps we hire someone near the max because they're a very strong candidate. So we hire them at $20. And normally we do a 50-cent increase after the introductory period. And if they were really looking for, something closer to $22, maybe we say, well, we'll give you $1.50 and bring you to $21.50 as of July 1st. If you get going on your CDL and your certifications in these next months and everything's performance-wise in a good place as of July 1st, we would bring them up.
I don't think you're getting anybody for less than 20 bucks an hour, so yeah, I'd be on board with that.
Okay.
If we're doing that, then I would think we want to, like, maybe every 2 years do a rate study. So that, because if you're going to give that person a little higher rate, they're going to get to the max quicker. So, I mean, instead of waiting, a longer period of time doing a rate study, we probably want to have a rate study done every 2 years.
But these rates increase with COLA, is that correct, every year? If we approve a COLA, the rates will increase that percent as well, right?
The full schedule is bumped up by the COLA.
Right, so they'll still be at the max, because they're gonna get the same, the COLA increase, it's gonna match the rate increase by COLA, so they'll still be at the max, but it's not like they're not getting raises year after year. Just want to make sure you're aware of that if you weren't.
And also,
Well,
as
it
you,
kind of goes with the same argument where you're saying somebody's not didn't get a raise for 8 or 9 years. Well, those 8 and 9 years, they've been getting a COLA every year.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
Yeah, but it's been what, 0 to 2%, right? I mean, we looked at those COLA numbers and we were blown away by the 5.9 because it's been nothing for the past 20 years.
Right.
Yep.
but there are brackets also as we're talking about bringing someone as a utility field technician, 1 or 2, they're at a different grade as they're here and they gain experience, they do get bumped into other brackets if they've got licensing and different things. So there is room for growth there.
All right, so your amendment, Wolf, your motion, have you incorporated the discussion that Michelle had about the employees with the fourth quarter review being eligible on July 1st?
Correct.
Okay, then I'll go along with that second as well. So I think that's where we're at, and maybe now's the time to take a vote on that.
Sure.
All right, so I'll start with Wolf since he made the motion,
I'm in favor.
and I'll go next because I'm second, so I'm in favor. John
Hi.
and Ken.
Yes.
All right, great. So that passes 4-0-0. No abstentions, no oppositions. So I guess with that, we can move on to the COLA, cost of living adjustment.
Yes, the COLA for Social Security administration was 5.9%, and a previous review of the COLA, a 5% increase was proposed to be acceptable by the board. So we would ask that if that is still the stance, that a motion is made and a vote is taken for a 5% COLA increase effective July 1st, 2022. And that will take the entire schedule that we just adjusted per the compensation study and move that up 5%.
Do I hear a motion?
Here's the thing. Yeah, I'd move to do that. Move to accept the COLA increase of 5.9%,
5.0?
5.0.
5.0.
5.0. I'm looking at 5.9 here. How do we,
I think we discussed that 5.0 was what we were comfortable with at the last budget meeting.
all right. All right, 5.0.
Anybody have a second on that?
Seconded.
Second by Ken, so motion by John, second by Ken. Any other discussion on that? If not, we can move forward with a roll call. All right, seeing none. John, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ken,
Yes.
Wolf,
In favor?
and myself in favor as well. So that's 4-0 on that. And I think that concludes that part of it. So moving on to number 3 on the agenda is the appointment of Lynn Christensen as the treasurer of MVD. Has she approached you, and she is definitely willing and wants to do the position?
Yes, she is. Lynn previously served as an interim treasurer. We all worked very well with her. She's been very service oriented towards the town in many capacities. She served as our moderator and the town moderator. She has an extensive banking background, mortgage lending background. And she is very flexible in her schedule now. So she said we'll have no problem being available to us in person and remotely. We would keep the stipend working within the $2,500 a year. It would not be a stipend. We have to adjust that slightly in how we're going to do it since it's now appointed. But that would be the annual compensation to the role.
Right.
And she is able to start as soon as we have a vote in favor. Then we would put together an agreement that we've had legal draw up. And from there, she would just need to come in and take the oath, and she can assume the role. Does
to
anyone
provide
have
a little,
questions?
yeah, I was going to say, just to provide a little background on this, and Kathy Stack was the previous treasurer, and she's agreed to continue on since the March meeting last year to be the acting treasurer, because there was nobody that nobody volunteered to run for the position of treasurer in March's annual meeting. And at that annual meeting, it was changed by a warrant article for the treasurer position to be appointed instead of elected. We had nobody running for that position. And I believe Lynn is the only one who is interested in this appointed position. Is that true?
I spoke with 2 other candidates, and there were issues with it fitting with their other obligations. And also some of the background not being quite where we'd like it for the role, for the responsibilities of the role.
So I guess my point is, it's a position that seems to be not very coveted and hard to fill, whether it's elected or appointed. So I'm pleased to have Lynn here, and I'll entertain a motion unless there's any other discussion.
So moved.
Second for me.
All right, moved by Ken, second by John. So we'll do a roll call on that. Ken, how do you vote?
Yes.
John?
Aye.
Wolf?
In favor?
And I'm in favor as well. So congratulations, Lynn. It'd be great to have you back. And I think we all want to give Kathy a thank you for participating as the acting treasurer beyond her normal time, which would have ended in March, and she stayed on. So thank you, Kathy, for that. Kathy Stack.
Yes.
All right, great. Why don't we move on to what else needs votes on this agenda is the minutes, correct?
Yeah, the minutes and the warrant articles need to be discussed. I mean,
All right.
it's nothing new or crazy, but I'd like to move forward with those and get those to DRA.
Keith, just so you know, Wolf needs to leave. Wolf, it's 6:30, you said you need to leave?
Do you want
And
me to
so
warrant or you guys good? Warrant articles.
No, we're good.
Okay.
So I think we're just trying to get us to move along on things that need votes, just so that we're all here, as much of us, then I was only 4 of us, but, all right, so let's just,
stay tuned.
okay, let's move on to the minutes real quick. And I know Ken said that, where are we here? The November, well, start with the November 10th minutes. And I was absent for those. And Paul was absent. So basically Wolf, John, and Ken, typically you can approve those if you want to here. And I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
So
So-
moved.
Second,
All right, so motion by Wolf to approve the November 10 minutes, second by John, was it?
yes.
Anybody have any corrections or comments to offer or anything? Seeing none, then we can take a vote on that. Wolf, you moved, right? So how do you vote?
Yes. In favor.
Okay, and John?
Aye.
Ken?
Yes,
And I will abstain because I was not present. So that passes 3-0-1. And then the next one is December 10th, I believe. Where is that?
20th.
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 And there's regular and non-public as well. The non-public, if there's any discussion, we'll need to postpone those.
Right. All right, so the November, sorry, I did it again. Wait a minute. The December 20th has non-public. Why am I not seeing that?
It's not included in the package because that
Oh,
package is
yeah.
that.
That's why.
Sit separate.
All right.
I think
I would move to approve that one.
Not in the packet.
All right, John moves to approve the December 10th, 20th non-public minutes.
Seconded.
Second by Wolf. Any, I guess we could just go to a vote if, because we can't discuss non-public minutes, right? So, so we'll do a roll call. John, how do you vote?
Aye.
Wolf,
In favor.
Ken,
abstain.
and I am in favor. So that was 3-0-1 with Ken abstaining. And then the last minutes we have are the December 20 minutes of the regular meeting. Any,
I just did an extra copy.
anybody want to move to approve the December 20 minutes?
I would move to approve them.
Okay. Wolf, do you hear a second?
I do. I was just about to say, yep, seconded.
All right, good. I only have one minor correction on page 8. Line 28. I'm sorry, 29. Where we're talking about a chlorine residual, and it said that he, referring to Ron, stated that he believed at one point there was a reading of 1.0 at the interconnect. And I'm just recommending that we add milligram per liter, mg/L there. Just so that we know what we're talking about. That was the inference, I assume.
Mhm.
We are throwing out numbers of 1.0 referring to million gallons a day in other places. I just want to make sure people understand the distinction.
I agree.
All right, so that being said, if you're okay with that amendment, we'll do a roll call on that. That was, who made the motion again? Wolf?
Done.
Oh,
I
John,
think John
sorry.
did, yeah. And I seconded.
Okay. So John, are you in favor of that?
Yes.
And Wolf?
In favor.
Ken,
Abstain?
myself, I'm in favor, so that's passes 3-0-1. The minutes of December 20th, and Ken is the abstention. All right, do we want to try and get through the warrant articles quickly here? While we've got 4 of us?
Yeah, and just the warrant articles, it's the standard language, it's the same language as the DRA requires every year. It's just there's the amounts aren't in there yet because we haven't got to the budget, the final budget meeting. So the amounts are the only thing that are going to change if anything in the budget changes. The language is all standard.
So I don't have the warrant article in front of me right now, but I think it incorrectly lists that we're electing a moderator. Wasn't Mark Nozell just elected last year?
No,
Article 2.
no, it's been 2 years.
Really, because on the website it says 2023 term. Current term ending 2023.
Let me look into that.
I'm pretty sure he was elected 2021 with us because
He was the moderator at the last meeting, so he must have been elected before, right?
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Then I guess the website is wrong. Maybe you might be right.
It's a 2-year term?
Yes.
Yeah, so then it's probably up for election again, I think, right? Because
Yeah,
And he-
okay. But then the website is
he's
wrong.
gonna be the moderator for the second time, and that's gonna be the
Mhm.
end of his, unless he gets reelected, if he wants to run. All right, so maybe the website needs to be,
Yeah, we'll
updated.
check that.
Okay. So Article 1 is to choose a commissioner for 3 years. Article 2 is the district moderator, like you just said. Article 3 is raise and appropriate sum of 4 million, some odd dollars.
That's last year's number.
Okay, so that's going to be substituted, right?
Yeah,
These are all standard that recur every year, basically, so far, right?
right.
Yes.
So just Article 3 and 7, the amounts change.
Right. All right, so Article 4 is contingency fund, $20,000. I think that's another one that recurs every year. Article 5, I had a question on that one. Why do we need that again? It's Merrimack Village District to vote and raise $100,000 to the district's non-capital reserve fund for emergency water and operations.
So we are gonna need to replenish that, because if the water we're purchasing now, assuming the board approves it, will probably come out of there if we can't pay for it all with budget. We'll need that for possible future purchases.
All right, so do you think we need to reappropriate that, a whole $100,000 amount there?
I mean, that's something we can, maybe not, but we do need to see how we come out at the end of the year first.
Yeah, because there's an
For these-
adjustment or something that's gonna be made, right?
Yeah,
So I'm almost wondering, I don't know, you think we're gonna exceed the 100,000? Without the adjustment?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
So on the one hand, I don't want to look like we have too much money in reserve, because then we also talked about trying to get a grant reimbursement from the state on some of this, right? So I'm kind of worried that if we look like we have too much money in reserve for that, they're gonna say, well, that's why you get the money in reserve. We're not giving you the reimbursement, you know? That's my only kind of concern about that.
Well, isn't this more like if we had a main line break and needed to purchase water from Pennachuck? I thought it was for an
Well,
emergency.
no, it was offset summer watering. It's really for any emergency purchase or purchase of water over and above what we budget for in our budget. But again, once we start getting closer, we get some better budget numbers, we start, let me rephrase that. We get our budget set. We're gonna look at, what we anticipate for like our STC charge and all of that, what we anticipate a surplus in the fund balance. Then we can adjust these numbers. That's really what we're kind of waiting on.
Okay,
So it's really, if we don't think we need Article 5, we don't have to put it in here. That's kind of where we're, approving the wording and, and the article itself.
yeah. So maybe we could do a little bit more research and then kill this article later if we determine we don't need it. Is that what you're
Yep.
kind of saying?
Yeah, or we can put less in or.
Right. I just think, trying to put this article in front of the voters 2 years in a row, they're gonna be asking a lot of questions, and if we don't really need it, I don't want to find ourselves trying to defend a number that we don't have a backup information that we really need it. If we really will need it, then fine, but I think the unknown is we don't know what the adjustment's gonna be on that rate after it's all done. So that's the challenge we're facing here. All right, so I don't know, I guess we'll leave it there now. We can always eliminate it later, I suppose. Are we gonna have another discussion on these warrant articles before, they go to print, basically?
That's, I do have one, we should be able, so once this is gonna go to DRA.
Yep.
At the February meeting, could we, if we decided not to use 5, we can pull that one, right?
Yeah, but I think we should decide that and, obviously let the commissioners know this is what we're looking at for money or,
No, absolutely, no, but it would be another discussion at our next board meeting as we're going to the public hearing.
yeah.
Or it doesn't actually, it wouldn't have to be done by February. I'm thinking that's when we're voting. It's a public hearing, so it could actually be done up until just
Could
before
be done
March.
at the public hearing by the commissioners.
It could be, okay.
All right, that's helpful.
Yep.
And I see there's no Article 6, so I don't know if you need to renumber them or what.
It's probably, yeah, that's just
It's just me.
Okay. And then Article 7 is $248,000 for, what is this for? District System Development Capital Reserve. And that number
that
updated,
number won't change. That's not enough. None of the numbers in this are updated. So it's really just the wordage,
Right.
the verbiage and, whether we want this article in or not.
okay. And kind of similar with Article 8 is the district's equipment and facilities capital reserve. Is that also something that's basically every year is,
Yes.
It's
right?
based on Underwood.
So there's really no real new warrant articles here of any, concern or something we need to deliberate on, essentially, right?
Nope, it's just getting them in front of you.
All right. So that being said, maybe this is a time, maybe Keith can help us out on this. We had talked about this earlier, and I don't know if the time is this year, this annual meeting or not. But we talked about a warrant article for the customers to direct us if they want us to replace the media in our filters with the goal of non-detect of PFAS compounds coming through, or if we want to just leave it to the PFOA, the regulated compounds, because that has a effect on the frequency of replacing the media. And I think we discussed that might be something we might want our customers to weigh in on. So my understanding, I think I looked at the latest water quality data, and I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, I think PFBA has broken through both filters at wells 4 and 5. If that's not something that I misunderstood somewhere.
No,
Definitely
it
through
must-
25% on.
I want to say it
second
was
one.
through the, we're picking up in the effluent too, I thought.
I thought it came out in the PFBA was the only one detected in the effluent. We were like,
I would agree. I believe it is.
right. So this is for next year. Obviously, we know now the water we're getting from Pennachuck is compliant with all of the regulated compounds. There are some non-detect stuff that's in there. We also know, I mean, there is some non-regulated detections that are in there. We also know PFPRA broke through both filters at wells 4 and 5. That's being resampled, so that's being confirmed. That's a non-regulated compound. And now we think PFBA has broken through. And the PFPRA was only detected because it was a special sampling of 70 parameters. There could be dozens of other ones that broken through that we don't even know about because we don't sample because there's thousands of PFAS. We only sampled for what, 20, 25 or 28 of them. And we only detected additional one because we sampled for 70. So it's kind of a moving target depending on what you sample for here, right? So that's kind of the challenge we have. But does it make sense with all that being said for us to consider a warrant article at this point, or is it premature and we should do it for next year?
Well, that was my first question. Are you talking about doing that this year or next year? And I mean, my immediate reaction, I was just trying to look up the water quality trends, would be if you want to get the pulse of the community, I would rather you do it somehow through a straw poll or a non-binding type thing, because I don't know that you want to wrap your hands around making, decisions by the executive body to operate your system versus, at least considering what folks want and try to meet it. That's kind of my immediate reaction. The other thing about waiting maybe is I am getting word, and maybe you've heard some of it, is that EPA is looking harder now at setting an MCL. So instead of these state standards, the feds are looking at it, and it could change the picture. I mean, the word we're getting is that EPA may even be a little bit more conservative. So, and I don't know if that timing is next year, we'll know, but they are, I'm starting to hear from DES that is in motion.
Okay.
Well, I mean, considering the current budget situation, it wouldn't kill us to have an additional cycle of media replacement before the next fiscal year. So the board could decide if we see breakthrough on the lag vessel. Now, we could make that call based on the budget that we have. But at least we can continue collecting the data so we can put out an informed warrant article next year. I'd hate to be premature and then scare people off and then actually be attacked out there, right, by those that may oppose it and being told that we haven't done our homework, which we probably didn't, right, do yet.
Right. Those are great points, and that's exactly what I was thinking too, is we really don't have all the data yet because we can't compare to what it would be to change out the regulated compounds because we haven't exhausted that yet. So we don't have that.
I will say I rather would like to decide as part of the board, I would rather like to put a motion out there for the board to decide on replacing prematurely, despite some of the regulated compounds not yet breaking through, right? So I don't want to dismiss the fact that I want to be cautious and I want to be proactive and I want to rather give it an extra, or not give it an extra cycle. I want to rather have an intermediate cycle of replacement of the media to ensure that we aren't serving contaminated water that we know of, right, to the community. So I'm saying that too. I'm saying both.
Yeah.
I think we should be careful. I think we should be getting the data. I think we should make a well-informed warrant article, put a well-informed warrant article out there next year, but we also should look at it as a board to be proactive in replacing the media if we decide that's a good thing to do.
That sounds good. And I'm only bringing this up now. I'm not necessarily in favor or against it. I'm only bringing it up because I want to make sure we're not missing the boat. And that's the only reason I'm bringing it up. If March passes and then we say, oh, we should have done that, then just making sure everybody's on the same page. If we're not going to do it, or if we are going to do it. I think that's why I'm just bringing it up. So I tend to agree with what you're saying, and it doesn't mean we can't choose to change the filters out anytime we want, that we can do that. And we have settlement agreement funds for that. So it doesn't really affect the budget, right now. After the 5 years it will, but not now. So anybody have any other comments on that? If not, we can, I think that's really it for the warrant articles. Any comments, Ken or John, on that?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So,
Guys, I'm gonna jump off then now, so I don't have to interrupt the Underwood presentation here. I think we're through the part where we need to make a vote. I do want to remind everybody that I sent out some draft outline for the event policy. I don't know if you guys want to look at that today or next time when I'm back in the meeting, but just as a reminder, please have a look at that. With that being said, I excuse myself and you guys have a good night. Thank you.
Hey, Wolf,
Hey,
Wolf,
Wolf.
before you leave, I just want to let you know, I'll be filling them in on it, but we did get vessel 7-8 started up, and we have samples taken. They're in the, they're probably at the lab now. They got shipped out last Friday. And so we're hoping to, it's been taking 15 days-ish or something like that to get results. If we get positive results back, then we'll be all set, and that will be online. So just to let you know
That is
that. And then also well 2, the vessels were set on Friday.
Mhm. Those are fantastic news, and please enjoy them a little bit more when I'm not around in the meeting. So thank you so much
Yeah,
to
all
the
right.
team for working so hard. Thank you.
thanks, Wolf.
Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, for the record, you could show Wolf left at 6:21. All right, great. So thanks for waiting for us, you guys, Keith and Peter. Appreciate that. I wanted to get everything squared away while we had as many commissioners as possible. So we're back on number 4 on the agenda, which is Board of Commissioners to hear updates from Underwood on several projects. Great.
All right. Thanks, Dawn. Yeah, I'll do a quick update on the cost of service study. And I think this will be maybe a first of many discussions I'm sure we're going to have on this. I don't expect you or anybody to be making any decisions tonight, but I will share what we've got from Penachuk, what I at least think it means. And then, if we need more clarification at some point, we may want to have Penachuk in, or at least have a work session, or we can get some questions to them. But back in June, we issued to Merrimack that water supply update study that looked at various alternatives for new supply, knowing that even with the wells that we have in process of getting the PFAS treatment, we knew we still needed additional supply. So we came up with several alternatives. One of them was to consider a wholesale arrangement with Penachuk Waterworks. And you currently have an emergency connection with them on Route 101A near Home Depot. But we had suggested to make sure we had all our tools in our toolbox and all the information to make a decision was, let's ask them what a wholesale arrangement would be at that location, or what that would look like. And also to look at a wholesale arrangement up by the Route 3 area at the Budweiser location. And just to remind you that the retail emergency options are, you're paying retail rates anytime you turn the water on, but there's no guarantee that they'll give you the water. If it's available and it's not hurting their customers, they'll give it to you. I mean, they just as soon sell it. But if they have a shortfall or something, they're going to serve their customers first. And if there's a shortfall, you'd be out of luck. So when you have an emergency retail arrangement, that's kind of the circumstances you're in. A wholesale arrangement is a commitment on their part that the water will be there. You're paying for it, and the rates are set up a little bit different. So they did do that. Penachuk hires a consultant, Raftellus. They do all their cost of service work. They're doing cost of service work in Milford and Hudson right now too. And essentially, they establish what would be a guaranteed minimum charge they would receive from Penachuk for various supplies, quantities we choose to take. and then what the rates would be. And they've given us the spreadsheet, and we can play around with it or try different scenarios. And then they established the rates for those scenarios. But they basically looked at about 500,000 gallons a day on their first cut, because that's what we told them we were short. And with a max day of twice that. And then they set up the rates. And in the simplest form, under that scenario, and if you purchased 500,000 gallons a day from them, it's going to run right around $500,000. So that's kind of what that model says. As you buy or guarantee more purchasing from them, the rates do go down a little bit, especially at Route 3, which is a lower cost option for them. Then you're starting to see, if you double that, you're not doubling the cost. So if we decide we want to purchase 1 million gallons a day from them, the cost might only go up another 25%. So it'd be about $750,000 in that range. I am really kind of broad brushing this. There's a lot more detail to it, but the essential plan that they would present to you is that there is a guaranteed minimum that you would pay, whether you use the water or not. So there's an incentive for you to use the water. And then, so that's kind of like your demand charge. And then if you used more than that, then you get charged the volumetric rate. And so we can play around with that for various scenarios and see if one of those seems to look right, feel right, and cost right to you as well. I want to show you one thing, and then I want to open it up maybe for some questions. Can I share my screen? Is that going to work? Says no.
Then you're out of luck.
Okay.
There you go. You should be all set.
Yeah. All right. This is you've seen this chart
You're
before.
not sharing, Keith.
I got to hit the share button. Thank you. You've seen this chart. You can see it now.
Yep.
You've seen this chart before. These are the various options. And the blue box was the new water supply options. These bars represent the cost of those options. And the wholesale arrangements were the ones that were sort of lower cost per gallon than some of the smaller wells that we were looking at. This was the reason why we looked at the wholesale arrangement. This is a Penachuk option. This is a Penachuk option. And this is the one actually that they just did the cost of service study on. And so Penachuk option compared to some of these smaller wells we have was initially thought to be a lower cost option. And it still kind of is, especially on the upfront. And just to give you a sense of it, if I would, and I got to do this, I'd have to rerun the numbers now that we have the cost of service study, but the capital costs are going to be significantly low. There's not a lot associated with that connection. What we originally thought is there may be a buy-in charge. They're not going to do that. The money that they're going to get is from the commitment you're making over the next 20 years or term of the loan. So the capital cost for a wholesale arrangement with them is going to drop. This blue bar will be very low or much lower. This orange bar would probably be a little bit higher because they're basically shifting some of that capital investment over the term. So it may keep us in this range. It may shift it a little left or right, depending on how you look at it. But the last thing I will show you is that area that we would be looking at over here requires a pump station. This is the Budweiser plant up here to the right. You can see this is Route 3. Budweiser is here. I think the New Hampshire DOT facility is here. The Everett Turnpike here, and Premium Outlet is up in this area. Premium Outlet built that new water transmission main underneath, and we looped it. The Penachuk franchise area ends right about here. That's Penachuk water. There's a gap. There's no water lines between here and here. I can't remember what it is, 1,300 feet. So it's a quarter of a mile. And so this water line would have to be constructed, and then a new pump station would have to be installed here. So the capital cost associated with this option is just the cost to the district to actually build the infrastructure, and then the wholesale arrangement would be in place. So that's essentially the high level. I think if we wanted to continue to pursue this, we'd want to look at various scenarios of the take or pay and volumes and rates or volumes that we would want on an average and max day, and then see how it fits. So I thought it was, it fell in about where I thought, or maybe even a little better than I thought. The last thing I will say is Pennachuck does have water available, but there's a lot of people looking at Pennachuck water right now. Milford's looking at them. Hudson's looking at them. And so I know that there's a lot of pressure on Pennachuck to be potentially to be selling water outside of their boundaries. So not that creates the pressure, but I think that's just part of the reality. And the last thing, I keep saying the last thing, but this is an important one. The state of New Hampshire, and I don't know if you've seen this or heard of this, but the state of New Hampshire is looking at extending municipal water in the Londonderry area and other parts in south central New Hampshire that have been hit by the PFAS and water quality issues. So like they did to the Plastow in Salem and Hampstead Hawk area, they're looking at a master plan study to consider how to best serve some of the remaining private wells that still have PFAS. And Pennachuck and Manchester are the primary water suppliers that could potentially be used in that. So I guess the timing is good that we did this, because there's a lot of push pulls on Pennachuck and Manchester to look beyond even some of their current franchise areas to serve some of these people. So that's kind of a real quick brief summary and kind of a high level one on what we do have. But I suspect we have to talk about this more and think more about what we want to do with it. But let me know if you have any questions or thoughts on what they gave us or what I've shared with you.
Yeah, I had a few questions. Is there an echo there or something? I don't know if you want to get into like more detail here, but I was just so I understand, in your there's an email that was included in our packet. It says guaranteed take at 450,000 gallons a day. The Route 101A connection would be at $2.28 per 100 cubic feet. And a DW highway connection would be $2.37 per 100 cubic feet. So is it actually a little bit more expensive at the DW highway connection? I thought you said the opposite of that.
Well, I asked the question in my email. That was the same question I asked Dawn, is what's going on here, but that is at the lower rates. I think it has to do, I don't know exactly why. They're very close, 228 versus 237.
Right.
But as when you run the model at higher consumption rates, then it shifts over real quickly to Daniel Webster Highway, almost 2 to 1.
Yeah, on the next page of your email, for 900,000 gallons a day, it goes $1.73 at the Pennachuck Square connection and $1.22.
Yeah.
DW highway. So was I correct also that would Pennachuck, thought I read in here in the email, it led me to believe that Pennachuck would be responsible to build the connection at DW highway. Is that not the case?
Well, I think they'd be willing to do it for you if you chose to have them manage it. It would be your station, your line, and they're going to charge you for it. So it was built into the model. There was a number that they had in there of just under $1 million. We had estimated a little over $1 million. They threw a little under $1 million at it, but that would be a cost you'd be carrying, have to pay. So, but I don't think they said that they would take the station. I think it'd be yours, but we'd have to talk to them about it.
Okay.
And the way they built the model, that they amortized those costs and put it into the rate. So that 237 that you just cited has that $1 million built into it. Actually, it's 850,000 they threw at it.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying it wouldn't be an upfront cost to us. Then this would just be something would be subsidized over the future rates.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess that's what that implies. We'd have to confirm that with them, but that's what it suggests.
Okay. So just so we understand how this works, let's say we wanted to go ahead with the 450,000 gallons a day. if we didn't use all of that, you said there's a minimum, like a demand charge that we would be charged no matter how much, even if we use none of that water?
Yeah, and in the case of Daniel Webster Highway cost of service at 450,000, they would expect 286,000 a year, use or lose, or take or to pay or take or pay is what they call it. So 286,000 whether you use it or don't.
Okay, so does that come off of the rest of the water charge that we'd be charged for, like the consumption?
Yeah, if you used, if you used 450,000, the cost to you is 500,000 a year per their model.
And that cost is based on the 228 per 100 cubic feet?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, that's for 101A. At Daniel Webster Highway, it's 472, which is based on the 237 per 100 cubic feet. So if you use 450,000 at Daniel Webster Highway, it's just under 500,000. The way I understand this base charge is it's fixed. No matter what you use, you get charged 286,000.
So that's not on top of,
No,
okay, that's what I was trying to find out.
no,
All right.
So can I ask a couple questions too?
yeah.
So Keith, what would this replace? Like, what would we not be producing from by using this? What would we avoid constructing or what have you?
Probably you'd be looking hard at whether you did Mitchell Woods as one scenario. You know, maybe that would be just delayed or set aside. Is this a solution that's lower cost than Mitchell Woods? Artificial recharge is probably something you would do anyway, but it was finding 500,000 gallons a day. Mitchell Woods or a new potential well in the Wilson Hill area was one of the other ones we talked about, might be avoided as well. So I think the short answer is probably Mitchell Woods or Wilson Hill new well area that would potentially need to be pursued if we didn't go wholesale. But if we did, those could potentially be avoided, or at least certainly put way off.
Wilson Hill didn't pan out, so
Oh,
That's-
really?
yeah, it didn't, I'm waiting on a report, so that didn't,
Oh,
they
okay.
gave up, the soils weren't correct, and they just,
Oh, bummer.
yeah.
So I guess what I'm wondering is, we don't need this water in the winter. I mean, we don't need half of our wells in the winter. But could we use this in the summer and get up to that basic demand charge and usage to like help us get by in the summer is kind of what I'm wondering, you know?
Yeah, we can design this thing, the way they set the model up, we could design it to say, you know what? Annual average guaranteed, we only want 250,000. We can try that. But we want some max day numbers in the summer of 500,000 or 700,000. And then we can see what that costs for us.
Is the spreadsheet set up for that massive spreadsheet model you're talking about, which I kind of took a peek at it quickly, and I noticed it was pretty overwhelming right off the bat.
It is set up for that. Yeah, no, I've been trying a couple scenarios just to see what it did. I mean, Dawn told me and Raftelis told me which cells to change. So as long as I don't mess it up, it works, but
Yeah.
we can try any of those scenarios.
Okay. All right. So I don't know, we probably don't have a lot of time to get into the nitty-gritty details on this thing, but I guess that's a scenario maybe other commissioners here can offer if you have ideas too, but that's something I would be interested in knowing. Sort of one of the alternatives is, you know, if we could plug in some demand numbers, particularly in the summer, to help us get by the summer peak, and what would be our obligation to have to pay over the, you know, hopefully we wouldn't have to wouldn't want to be buying water in the winter if we didn't have to buy it, I guess is what I'm saying. So,
Assuming that models, and again, I'd want Penachuk to confirm that I'm doing this right, but I just plugged in a Daniel Webster Highway 0.25 instead of 0.45. So an annual average of 0.25 and a max day of 0.5. And it does drop your overall cost by 160, 267 by about 200,000. So not quite half, but close to half. But you know, your cost per 100 cubic feet goes up. You know, you're paying a little more premium, but you're not committed to as much.
okay.
So yeah, we have those abilities to try different scenarios with this model.
Ron, you had a question?
I did. So back on the email, isn't the 450,000 gallons per day, that's peak shaving though. Isn't that 300 GPM? Right around there?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably more than you need most of the time, but that's what we told them to base the first round off.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was the number we went in looking for, was to shave
Right.
those peaks.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if we would be required to purchase that all winter long as well. That's why because we don't need it in the winter. So I wanted to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we'd have to ask some of those detailed questions with Dawn and how that all works, but
Does it, I know, I think it might even say in here about having Dawn come in to give us a presentation, Dawn Ware from Penachuk to come in and meet with us and help explain and answer some of these questions, because it's his, his spreadsheet and he's worked with the company. So I'm assuming he knows that thing probably in and out pretty strong.
he does.
What do you think? Should we look at this and figure out more questions ahead of time, or should we invite him in sooner than later? I don't know what the strategy is here.
Well, I think that, I'd want to have some sort of feeling like this is something you want to pursue, meaning, and not commit to, but at least pursue the conversation. And if you do, then I think it is worth posing some more of these questions and getting Dawn in to explain it a little bit more detail than I can, because it's his thing. And then see where it goes from there. But what I see, I think it's worth continuing to look at from what I've been seeing and what he's given us.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a full comprehension of what all the costs are, what's the minimums, what's the maximums, what's the different scenarios that might work best for us. So maybe getting us better familiar with that would be a good way to start. And then, and then if the numbers still make sense, we'll continue. And so I don't know, what does the rest of the board have any questions on this? I don't know if you've taken a good look at, this is just a few pages of email that Keith had summarized with some of the two options of, 450,000 gallons a day and 900,000 gallons a day. I don't know if you guys have any, inclination of any questions on any of this, or a desire to want to have Dawn Ware come to our next meeting, or I don't know.
I think the March meeting, Dawn, our next meeting, we're gonna have to do a public hearing as well. So we're gonna be
Oh yeah, that's true.
recessing that meeting to go over for the public hearing. So
All right. If we decided to bump to this somehow, does that require a warrant article approval by the customers? Probably would, because it's over 100,000.
And it's a multi-year commitment. So my sense is you would.
So that means we'd have to call a special meeting if we wanted to do it before March of 23, or we'd have to wait till March of 23, which this is probably a long-term thing anyway. You're right. So, all right.
Thing I'm having trouble wrapping my arms around is how much water is this? Okay. So like we got CCF and we got gallons per day, and I have to try to figure out how much we use and what percentage of that this is. And how much cheaper it is than what we're doing right now.
Right.
And I appreciate the bar charts that Keith made. And that gives me some sense that maybe it's a little cheaper than some of the options we haven't explored yet. And maybe even some of the ones that we are using now. So I guess I would defer to you guys in terms of how much water we really want to commit to. And then at that point, I think it's definitely something to consider.
So Keith, I think you did a study and the conclusion's been that we are looking for an additional basically 500,000 gallons a day by, if not right away, then within several years ahead. It's not
Right.
that far away, right?
Right, not that far away, and you've always been in that mode, but that's, based on the plan, planning, you don't need it tomorrow, but you need it soon. And to answer your question, John, 450,000 gallons a day, which is the first starting point we had, represents about 20% of your demands. So
Average or peak?
that would be average. So that's kind of an
Oh.
annual average. Peaks, it would look a little bit different because your peaks are so high. But on an average annual, all the water you use in a year, this 450 from Penachuk's 20%.
Okay.
That's quite a bit, seems like.
Yeah, not in the summer though,
Not in the summer, no.
which is always the bottleneck. We've got gushing water more than we need all other times of the year, but in the summer we're seem to be coming up shorter. If we're in a drought or if we're in a dry season, even, it gets worse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you compare that 450 to your peak demands in the summer, it's probably only less than 10% what it would be providing.
So can we use it seasonally like that? Like how much
Yeah,
You could-
that's
How much capacity could we use in the summer if we wanted to go to a peak amount? Is it the 950? Can you? Oh,
was-
and the second one, that's 900 gallons per day.
Yeah, it
So
was twice.
That's interesting because it says the maximum day is 900,000. I don't know how many days in a row we could do that. I mean, so here's a scenario. Can we turn this on from, May, June, July, August? And use it for 4 months at the 900 and then not use it for 8 months from September through April. And on the yearly average, we'd average out, but we'd have enough water to supply our summer peak demand. I don't know if Penachuk would agree that we can space it out like that, So maybe.
I think you can, as long as you're in the terms of the agreement, as long as it's underneath your capacity reservation, as long as it's underneath your maximum day and peak hours, yes, you can. I mean, the way I understand it, again, we'll have to confirm it, but you're paying for it. The way they set it up, there's 4 columns. Your guaranteed take, how much you're going to commit to buying, that's the pay or take or pay. And then the capacity reservation, that's what we're reserving for you, we're committing to. And then the maximum day and the peak hour. And as long as you're under any one of those, and you stay under those constraints, you should be able to operate it how you want.
Right.
Because you're paying now. This isn't just a retail rate, turn it on when you want it, pay the retail rates. You're committing to a demand charge.
Right.
So it should work a lot like your customers work. They may not use water for 3 months, but it better be there on the 4th month when they show up,
Right. So the alternative is we invest millions of dollars in our own new sources if we can find them, and they sit, almost idle or at 20%, 25% capacity for 8 months when we don't need the water. But yet we're still getting wear and tear on in life. They're getting older, they're aging. That's kind of why this is sort of appealing to me if the numbers work out to our favor like that,
Yeah, Mitchell Woods, for example, is going to be a seasonal supply, period. And it was a peak shaving supply, but it's not even available to you in certain times of the year, even if you needed it. So that is a disadvantage to that option.
Right, because it's got a cap on how much we can take over a certain window, right? And if
Yeah.
that window is in the
Yeah.
summer, we might exhaust that when we need it, before we need
Right.
it.
Right.
But it would be available for an emergency though. If we
Right.
went with Mitchell Woods, it would be an emergency source for us as well. I mean, it would just be less that we would take to shade the peak, but
Mhm. All right, well, that's probably as deep as you've definitely helped answer a lot of the questions. And I don't know if it's worth you calling Don Ware and just reconfirming some of these things that I asked you to make sure we're not, misunderstanding it, I guess.
Yeah, I wrote a few of those down, and if you have any more, I wrote down, I'll ask about the pump station, so there's no upfront for you, would they build it, kind of a thing, who would own it? Any flows, anytime, as long as it fits under these constraints, can we be off for 3 or 4 months, turn it on later? I'll ask those questions. If you have any others, send them along, and then I'll just keep him in the wings as to, yeah, we may want to meet with you at some point, but with no commitment until I hear from you guys.
Yeah, actually, if you want to pencil him in, see if he's available for the March meeting.
yeah.
Come and meet with us. You think that makes sense? We'll probably have our questions ironed out and stuff by then. So
Sure.
that's March, what is that?
'21st, maybe?
Yep, looks like it. That's our regular meeting, yep. Hopefully his schedule's open that far ahead.
Yeah, I will, I'll ask him to check his availability and keep it open if it is.
Okay. And if you hear any other responses, if you have a chance to ask them those other questions, maybe we can just go over those at the next meeting. If you
Okay.
want to report back to
Yeah.
us on that.
Yeah, as soon as I hear something, I'll send it your
Right.
way.
I guess if anybody else has any questions, just send an email, copy Ron and Jill and all of us, and we won't debate it. We'll just kind of maybe give Keith a heads up on what we're thinking if we have some questions that come up if we're looking at some of this. So, all right, great. Thanks for that. That's encouraging. At least it's good to know we've got some other options there to consider. So you want to move on to the next thing on your agenda?
Yeah, and I think Lynette was going to cover that, and I think she sent that by an email. So I guess I can just summarize it real quick. She's not here to
Okay.
give you, but we owe you a report just to deal with that piloting. XDD, who is doing that work for us, got bought out by Lorero Engineering Associates or something.
Oh,
So we're in a transition period, but they are planning on giving us the report. What does it say here?
February 7th.
Yeah, so within a couple of weeks. And I know that Lynette had shared Ron's or somebody's question about getting sand in the columns, being able to use sand in the columns too to help test for the artificial recharge. And that's they'll keep that they'll build that into the report. That would work.
So hold on a minute. Is that I'm not familiar with the email you're talking about. Is that something she sent earlier, or maybe it
It
was
just went into Ron today, yesterday. She had just gotten an update from XDD. I'm basically just summarizing what she had shared with Ron, but
okay.
But this has to do with the pilot column setup at Wells Form 5 and how we're going to design and build that. So I think there'll be more, Dawn, that's going to be worth sharing with you once this report comes in.
Okay.
So at the next meeting, we'll probably have more update, but the basic update is it's close to being done and we will have stuff soon.
Good. All right. Is that good with everyone? Any other questions on that? I know we probably don't have all the information, so we'll get more on it later. All right, that sounds good. Carry on. Well, 7 and 8.
Yeah,
That's
so
Peter.
well, 7, 8, I kind of already blew all the information when I went over there. But yeah, so we started up the vessel successfully last week. Brian actually ran those. We got them started up on Tuesday and Wednesday. He ran them again on Thursday and Friday. Things went well. He was, obviously treating, some of it and then going to waste. And then on Friday, took the compliance samples on that, sent those into the lab. Hopefully we'll get results in a couple weeks and there'll be successful results, and then we can go online. Wes, the contractor is not, he's not going to be completed with everything, but with everything that they have, the good thing about with this project, you had your whole control system already set up. He set up already, did all the chem feed stuff and all that before, last spring, before the vessel, hit the bridge. So, so everything is really ready to go. So they're working on like lights right now, some of those types of things, finishing up, some of the carpentry work. They got do a little bit of programming to get like the backwash flow meter tied in there, rupture disc tied in there, but it's nothing that really affects the operation of the vessels itself. So, but that we're thinking that's going to be done anyways in March timeframe. So that's going to be coming shortly. So
Great.
and then I do have a little bit of bad news on that project. Wes ended up having a heart attack a couple weeks ago, and he's all right. He's recovering, but he is he's out of commission for a little while. So he has this person that was working for him, Eric Cuomo, and Eric Cuomo owns his own company of, he helps out different general contractors with piping and stuff. And he was the one that was actually helping Wes out with the piping on this project and, setting the vessels and that type of thing. So Eric has continued to move on, and continue the project moving forward. So I don't think we're going to have any problems with that. It's certainly a big scare for Wes, but hopefully he's going to be mending up and be back at it. So
Wow. Well, I hope
So-
it wasn't this project that made him stressed
Yeah.
out and contribute.
I don't think the project helped him, but
No.
usually with the heart attacks, it's usually longer term. But
Right. Let's.
yeah,
We'll give
Certainly
him our-
give him the best from our board, Peter.
I
yeah.
will. Yeah,
Echo that.
and
Absolutely.
I believe Ron and Jill sent them off a card and stuff. So.
That was actually when Lynette did an e-card that we signed, but we
Oh
didn't-
yeah, I thought you were going to send one from yourselves too.
Well, I wanted to talk to the board about that as well,
Okay.
so
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
I was actually thinking like a edible arrangement or something like that with a card to,
Sure.
okay.
So on that note, so if well 7 and 8 could be ready to deliver water into the system, not that we need it right away, but by, like we've been talking in the past, by May,
No,
April,
it would be
May.
you would get water in mid-February from
Right.
7 and 8.
So with that, I don't know how much water are we buying from the Pennachuck interconnect right now, but could we shut that off and use wells 4, 5, 7, and 8 when 7 and 8 is available? And that would
That's-
reduce our purchase price, right? For
Yeah,
Pennachuck.
that's the plan. I'd absolutely like to do that. We're also,
Okay.
so something else to keep in mind, we're also trying to schedule in a cleaning and surging of 7 and 8. But that would probably come in April, so there'll be that transition period we're gonna probably have to turn on. We may even have to have Pennachuck on at that time as well with 7 and 8. I don't know, but we'll hopefully not but
Is
we're gonna,
is that cleaning and surging something that just doesn't happen in the frigid weather like we have here? Because you'd just be talking about like block at some point or something.
I think he could do it now. Well, he's busy right now to do it, but he
Yeah.
did push it off. I did talk to him today, and he was talking probably shooting for April.
Is that Barry Miller you're talking about?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so Ron would have to coordinate that with well 2, because April was the time that Gene was looking to shut down well 2. So if but you're right now, you're not using well 2 or 7 and 8, you're just buying from Penachuk, but
Right.
you know,
We'll definitely watch it a little bit closer, just see how the demand is and yeah, hopefully it'll work out. I think. it
Yeah, I
will.
mean, I'm just trying to, you know, we talked about all the other kind of maintenance work that needed to be done at the pump station at 7 and 8. We don't want to be shutting wells off when we're going to be short on water. And we're even going to be short on Penachuk water in as we get into the summer. Because even with the 1 million gallons a day we're getting there, we're probably going to be short. And I don't know how real building a temporary pump station on Route 3 is, but that's something I would like to avoid if we can.
Yeah, no, Barry is aware of it. I let him know. He knows what the situation is, and he was out at Mitchell Woods doing the pump test. So he's been busy as well. It's just trying to get everything in line, and
it's almost like he could work full time for us almost with all these projects.
He probably couldn't. He actually, I talked to him today. He's been out with COVID as well. So,
Oh, wow.
he does have some he did hire on a couple other guys as well. So they've been busy, but he's been home with COVID, but recouping, he's been fine, and he's on the back end of it.
So Peter, what were you talking about shutting well 2 down for in April?
well, they during the construction of the well 2 treatment plant, we have to do some work at the well 2 station that's going to require
That's
us
right.
to take that offline, and we were looking to try to do that in that April timeframe. So when you do get into the summer months, and if you need water, then that's available for you.
Yeah,
Right.
we'd be jumping the gun out of sequence if we tried to do that in like March instead or something. I just, because
Yeah.
April turns into May and June.
Right. Yeah.
The way things happen sometimes, I'm just all these things that's going to affect our water source capacity. If we can get ahead by getting those done sooner than later. And I don't know if it doesn't work in the sequence of everything, but just I'll let you decide that.
Yeah,
If
we can, Ron and I will talk to the contract about that, see if we can, move that up, or definitely just make sure that it stays on the schedule of, the April and does not slide. Yeah. Yeah. Cause I was definitely, when we had the last meeting, we were, talking about, making sure that doesn't slide, because
Right.
I'll see if we can, see if we can possibly move that up a little bit. So,
but we're only talking, Pete, what, a couple days down though, right? I don't think
yeah, we told them in the specs, we told them, because when they shut down like the, the whole control panel and all that kind of stuff, we told them we would give them a week shutdown, to run everything. So, so we gave them a week maximum to be able to shut down.
Yeah, I think it would be good if it is in April, if it doesn't creep into May, and it's very dependent on the season, the weather we get. If it's a really dry spring, probably people are going to be using more water earlier. So it's a lot of different factors to evaluate, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, well,
correct.
that's good news about 7 and 8. Not such about Wes, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
So anything else on well 2?
Oh yeah, well 2 is, yep. So I'll give you a quick update on that one. So the block walls should be completed next week. Then the vessels were, like I mentioned, the vessels were delivered last Friday. Those were set. The pipe racks were set. Crane was actually back there again today, and they set the vertical pipes from the pipe rack to the vessels. So that's all set now. Carpenter should be coming in either later this week or next week to start his work, putting the plates on, the block walls and all that. The roof is supposed to be on like the first week of March, and then they would be able to be, moving inside. So, yeah. So that's about where they stand right now. The substantial completion, I mentioned this to you at the last meeting, unfortunately has slipped a little bit more. So he was Back to the last meeting, I told you that substantial completion was scheduled to be September 1st. It is now September 16th, so it slid another 15 days. We sent them off a letter last week or an email last week asking him, noting that it has slipped, for the past 4 months. And, how are we gonna stop the sliding and how are we gonna catch up and get this thing back on track? And we have not received that back yet, but we just wanna make sure we're looking at that early enough to, because it's harder to make up time near the end, so.
Was there specific reasons why that date got pushed out?
Not particularly, some of the things that, there are some items that have slipped and not on the critical path, but it's still additional work that has to be done. So it's, there was no, there's no exact answer of why that slipped. It just, everything kind of slid down the line. The vessels came in roughly about when they were expecting. I think last month we were expecting them more on the, a little bit earlier, weren't we, Ron? Wasn't it supposed to be like the 15th-ish or something like that?
December?
Yeah, it was supposed to,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it
was
was gonna
supposed to
ship
be.
on the 15th, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it? Yeah, yeah. Because it was supposed to be. Initially there was a December date, and then they told them that well, we might be shipping 2 of them, before Christmas and stuff like that. Then the contractor's like, well, if you want to pay for the second crane mobilization, then you can ship 2 and then ship, the other 2 later. And then, then Evoqua didn't want to get into that. So they said, okay, we can ship all of them, but it'll be, early January. And, one thing led to another. It's a little later. But the good thing is, I think we accomplished what we wanted to do by giving them the additional, dollars up front. We got those vessels when we really needed them, and it's not holding up the work at all, because right now the block work that they're doing, you needed to have that done before you put the roof on there. So it's kind of, the vessels did get there kind of when we were hoping more of December, but it still didn't affect it didn't slow down the construction process, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a plus.
Well, hopefully you can get an answer. I mean, I think we'd be interested in knowing, why, it slipped. It's only 2 weeks, but if every month we're losing 2 weeks, then we're going to be 2 months after a few months.
Yeah, and that's what it was. In the last 4 months, we lost 6 weeks. So that was, that was what we were concerned with. Yeah.
And that's 6 weeks of buying more water from Penachuk too, instead of using this plant. So
yeah,
wouldn't matter if we were out from November to January, that wouldn't really matter because we wouldn't need the water. But this is during the season where we're going to need that water. So that's the difficulty.
Yeah, unfortunately, the contractual substantial completion date is September 11th. And, which is past,
Yeah.
The summer type of thing. So,
Okay.
So it does look like you'll be riding through the summer with, without treated water at 7 and 8. So, I mean, at 2.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have to
That's
deal with
about
that.
it on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions for Underwood? That's all that was on your agenda. So I don't know if you guys have anything else that you want to bring up, or if anybody has any questions for you. I'm good with everything.
I'm all good.
Ron, commissioners, everybody good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yep, good.
All right. Thanks a
All right,
lot.
thanks, guys. See you later.
Does it. Thanks for joining
Night,
us.
guys.
Happy, Keith.
See ya.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, so we're moving along. We already did the warrant articles and the minutes. So I guess we're just up to the action items. Number 7 on the agenda, if anybody's following by number. So I got the action items up over here. It looks like item number 2 is an ongoing thing. I don't think we need to discuss that one. Let's see here, template, number 13 is for disaster recovery policy and data retention. Thought we talked a little bit about that a meeting or two ago, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think we have any more follow-up on that one, looks like. So let's see here. Number 23, what is that? The sampling results in the distribution system. When was that last sample? Do you guys happen to know when we did the distribution samples last? Is that, what did we decide to do? Was that
When I was
quarterly?
gone, because Shelley went with you, right?
That wasn't distribution, that was the wells. And it was the time before that, so it's been 2 samples ago.
Yeah, because we only do it quarterly, so we'd be
Yeah.
doing them this month. So the last time it would have
Okay.
been sampled October, November, December. It would be in October.
It would have been in October.
October, yep, we're due to sample this month, or
Okay.
this quarter, I should say.
All right, so maybe you can present those. Well, that would have to be probably in March because you wouldn't have the results probably till then. Whenever you get the next results, maybe it'd be good time for an update, I think. Let's see, obviously, decision about moving forward with alternative water sources. That's obviously an ongoing thing. Which part of this part of that analysis is the cost of service study that we just talked about with Penachuk.
And I think we were gonna have a work session with that as well, weren't we? Once we get all the information, well, once we get some questions answered with Penachuk, I thought we were gonna do a work session to kind of go over everything, you know,
Right.
I believe,
No, you're right. It's not
Okay.
necessarily listed on here, but I think we were planning on, deciding now that we have all our sources, our potential alternative of sources evaluated, to actually select and move forward with some of those, or one of those if we want. So do we want to change this action item and talk about scheduling a meeting to go over that, a work session?
we could, I mean, it would be after the March regular board meeting.
Yeah, I think we'd have to get more familiar with
Yeah.
more detail on the cost of service study. So I guess we'll just leave it there and come back to that. What's the latest on the Turkey Hill booster station with any noise? Obviously, everybody's windows are closed now, so.
Everybody's windows are closed. We really need to just kind of regroup back and find the time to get out there and put up well, we got to purchase the skirting as well, but put that up. But
Right,
right now, it's really just finding a good day to do it and the time.
okay. I know there's been a lot of other things and a lot of absences and sicknesses and stuff, so I know you don't have time to do everything, obviously. Number 40, open house at Wells 4 and 5. I think we tabled that till spring, so we'll pick that up at some point in the future. Review process of water allocation requests from the planning board and MVD's ability to monitor. We talked about a work session on that one. Let's see, salt mitigation committee meetings. Anything new on that at all? No further progress with the map of signage or anything like that? The watershed side?
I do have some maps, and I did kind of place some check marks on idea, kind of where we wanted to put some signage. And actually, that map did go to the state as well. That was kind of giving them an idea of what we were looking, how many signs we were kind of looking for. Because that kind of did get questioned. We were looking like 80 to 100 signs, and they were kind of wondering why we needed that many. So we kind of threw that map to them and said, we've got a big area we're trying to cover.
Is that the DOT when you say state?
I'm sorry, NHDS, DES for the grant. We were applying for the grant funding for the signage and some
Okay,
other work. So we did send that along to them.
can you show us that map at the next meeting?
Yes, I can.
All right, if someone can share the screen on it or maybe send it around or something so we can look at it ahead of time or why don't we put that on the agenda? Just so we're familiar with that. All right, and number 44, anybody has any questions, just feel free to jump in. Number 44, advertise Fidelity's involvement with salt mitigation, encourage others to join. I don't know that we've done anything related to that I'm aware of. Okay. We're talking about understanding the permitted threshold of wells 4 and 5. Seek approval from New Hampshire DES to exceed the threshold. Yeah, what was
I still need to make the phone calls on that, and I will get on that soon. I will get on that this week,
okay?
because
And
we're gonna need to know that information as well, especially, well, if we have a work session. Well, when we have our work session for alternative sources and the whole Penachuk thing, that'll help us out with that
right,
for artificial recharge. So I'll get on that.
right, and we're gonna need to rely on wells 4 and 5 going into the summer, obviously. So because we're gonna be short on supply and stuff. So
Right.
so that'd be good to know. Wolf said he did have he had an email, I haven't looked at it, about the future public event policy that he was looking at. So that's number 46. So did he ask to have that on the agenda for the next meeting before he left today? I think he
He
did.
did.
Right?
He did.
All right. So why don't we try to remember to make a note of getting that on the agenda?
Yep.
All right, number 47, review the SDC calculation metrics. And I think, yeah, I should have asked Underwood when they were on the line here, but I don't think we formally requested them to look into this yet, right? I wonder. Go
I
ahead.
can give him a call tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I mean, if they can put together a scope of work, or maybe if we can talk, about this further at, and I say the next meeting, I know, but that's going to be the short one in February, right? So maybe we should discuss this with Underwood so they have a clearer picture on what scope we're asking them. If you have a talk with Keith and he's not exactly sure what he can do for us, maybe we should talk to him about it at another meeting, I guess is all I'm saying. So why don't you touch base with him and
I
see
will.
what he has to say about it. All right. And then we talked about option to add separate irrigation meters. That looks like it came into play on the November 15th meeting. And that was for what? Customers who want to separate out irrigation or something? I'm trying to remember why.
That may have been something I brought up, not remembering that we were doing a tiered rate. And I think that might be why it says after July, look at it so you can see how the tier rate is affecting things and whether this is even necessary.
After we have a year of tiered rates, because we're in the tiered rates now, so we can see how that worked for
Yeah,
us.
so we had, I think we said after July, so we'd have some history with it and see, how it's working and if we need to supplement it with anything else like this.
Right. All right. Thanks for that reminder. I couldn't remember that. And I know we talked about number 49, the work session for corrosion control. So we're looking at scheduling something for, well, it says on April 26th tentatively right now.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll remember to confirm that with everybody's schedule at some point when the time gets closer. Everybody wants to try to plug that into their schedule at this point. Maybe that's a good idea.
And I think Keith did. I think we were talking about this with Keith. And I think he threw it into his calendar, if I remember right.
Okay. Good. Number 50, clarity on PFAS violation, running average versus emergency usage, how it ties in the sampling schedule. That was something to do with when we met with Penachuk. If we need to use one of our wells, how does that affect the running average and the violation notice, if there would be a violation notice that comes along with it. So that's probably something we're going to want to know when we're going to need the water as we approach the late spring and summer. Number 51, inquire about ATSDR guidelines for PFPRA. I don't know where you're going to find that information. I don't know if you maybe ask DES, Brandon Kernan or something.
That's what I'm thinking. Make a phone call to Brandon.
That's the
Right.
next one anyways. The next one's a call to Brandon.
Okay.
Right. He was supposed to sample those additional PFPRA samples. Is that scheduled? That hasn't been done yet, or where's that stand? Do you know?
I don't know if that's been scheduled. I don't think it's been. It hasn't been scheduled yet. We'll call him tomorrow and get and set up something.
I emailed him.
Did you?
Yeah, about. We'll talk about it after.
All right. So yeah, see if we also talked about having Brandon Kernan come in and discuss this with us. Right, the PFPRA results and
Right. And we were gonna wait till he did the next sampling
right.
to talk about it, so. But I don't
Right.
think he mentioned in that when he wanted to sample though. Unless he,
Did. I'll look for it.
All right, so at least we're gonna have him schedule those samples, and then he's gonna collect the samples, and then we're probably gonna have to wait for the results and then have him come in and talk to us about it, right? So at
Yeah.
this point, we're probably looking at maybe targeting that for the March meeting at the earliest, I would think.
probably, I don't know if he hasn't taken the samples yet. Or it would probably be the same thing. He probably wouldn't be ready for the next meeting anyways, the results.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have taken samples without you there.
No, I know, but even if it took him tomorrow, it probably wouldn't be ready.
Okay, so it looks like we have, is there two number 52s on this? It looks like there's two.
There is.
All right. So Keith did talk about that other number 52 about the rapid small scale column tests, and there's a report that's forthcoming on that. So I think that we can wait to see that. And then following up with Brandon regarding the fixed charges from Penachuk and recovering funds from the water purchase. This goes back to a Zoom meeting that we were on. I think you were on that one, Ron, you and I, was Mike Wimsat on there and Brandon, when they first mentioned this whole thing to us about purchasing water from Penachuk to meet
Yes.
compliance. And they did say there were grant opportunities that were, I'm almost going to use the word almost promised to us. It was a very strong indication that there would be some grant money available. Maybe the question that comes to mind now is, I would imagine they would want us to sort of reconcile what the final rate is when this is all done before they would commit to any grant money? Is that right? So at the end of all of this is supposed to be a final reconciliation of the-
Yes,
and there could be credits, there could be additional charges that come from that. And
that is correct.
At that point, we would know what our complete costs would have been. And maybe at that point, it makes sense to see if there's grant money.
They're really good about contacting us about this stuff too.
Well,
We're definitely looking into those.
Okay.
Um,
Guess maybe if you want to ask them about the timing of that, does it make sense to, would they even think about talking about grants until they know what the sum total of everything that is our cost associated with it?
Brandon is planning to sample early February based on US EPA, on when US EPA can provide sampling supplies.
Okay. All right. Let's see, and then number 53, follow up with Carrie, our attorney, regarding the fixed charges from Penachuk previously mentioned, recovering funds. Oh, I did just say that. I thought that was with Brendan, so that's why it's with Carrie though. So yeah, I just don't want to lose track of that. I mean, you know, we got some commitments or indications that there would be certain amount of money available, whether it's grants from DES and recovering funds from the PUC. I just want to make sure we don't lose track of that. I don't like to lose track of money that's been promised us, obviously, right?
right. No, that definitely, we'll, couple different things we got to talk to Brandon about, so we'll pin him down.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions or comments on these
I do.
action items?
The second, number 52, are we closing that out?
Set up with testing facility. No, I wouldn't close that out because that's
Right.
actually like moving forward with the construction of those column tests that we want, where what we're going to be talking about next is just a report that is going to make recommendations. So I think we want to keep that up there.
Okay, and then I have no action items to be added, but earlier, way earlier, someone had mentioned circling back to the sick pay and PTO. Do you want to add that as an action item?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Why don't we do that so it doesn't get lost? Thanks for that reminder. All right, so no other comments. We can move on to looks like old business next. If anybody has anything else on the action items first, if not, then we can move on. All right, seeing none. Old business. Anybody have any old business to?
With this being old.
All right, let's go with new.
All right, number 9, new business.
I have something. So today, I got an email from DES about the PFAS remediation loan fund. We requested the 12,764,500 with a combination of grant and loan. I mean, 12,764,500. And they actually gave us a grant for $3,369,375. So that's grant. And then the loan is $9,219,024. So with this approval letter, now we need to move forward on the final application, getting the Duns and Bradstreet numbers over to them and all the details. But it's been officially awarded to us. It needs to be spent by December 31st of 2026, which we'll not have a problem doing. The total between the grant and the loan is about $171,000 short because there's certain things that were done prior to September 30th, 2019 that are not eligible. So we've only lost $171,000 in financing, but we gained over $3 million in grant money.
So is this on top of the Drinking Water Groundwater Trust Fund grant?
Yes,
Yep,
And this was, we're talking about applying this against the warrant articles and the treatment at wells 2 and 7 and 8?
yep.
yep. Yeah, we just lowered our loans down to 9 million instead of the 12.
Almost 13.
Oh, all right.
13, yeah.
Oh. That's
And
good.
the first thing we get is the grant money dispersed out, and then as we go over the 3 million mark, we start going into the loan. If we don't use all of the loan, we don't pay for all, we don't have to pay
Yeah,
interest
take
on
the
that
loan,
whole
yeah.
thing. It's whatever we use.
Oh, good. Good. Is this something that you applied for or something, or how did this come about?
Yeah, they actually contacted me and said, this is coming down the pike, and we are, as usual, one of the first to go through this, and especially where we have our projects are multiple and they're multiple funding sources. They had a really hard time figuring out the accounting end of it. So I've been working with them for months, but there was no guarantee of what we were gonna get, so I just didn't say anything until we got a final version of what what they offered us.
Oh,
So this was a conversion from the SRF loan to the,
PFAS remediation
thank
loan.
you,
So it's a refinance too, and
which is, we're eligible if the state settles, if I'm gonna say this correctly, if their lawsuit, we're also could get up to half of that loan in forgiveness as well.
half of the remaining loan?
Yes,
the $9 million, if, yeah, the state would award 50% of whatever we paid out for that project.
Okay,
It's
That's
great
good.
news.
there's a lot going in our favor then. That's great.
Good work.
Yeah, awesome.
Is that something that the rate is predetermined, or is that not going to be determined until you sign some documents? I only bring it up as a minor point because I know rates are going up right now.
Yeah,
Didn't they hold the
yeah, I don't remember. I
SRF rate? I believe everything was, they slid everything right over. I think it was,
think you're right.
I
That was at the
want to say they
beginning.
held that rate.
That's great.
Whatever, yeah, whatever it is, we're not paying more than the SRF, but I thought they lowered it as well too. So I
Oh,
don't know.
maybe, maybe.
Wow.
It's been a long time since I looked at the rates up in paperwork.
Huh. I didn't.
To celebrate that.
We didn't know you guys were looking into this. I don't think. Did you mention this? I don't remember. I remember
We
hearing
mentioned-
something. Yeah, I remember hearing something. It
We
wasn't.
mentioned that we're converting the loans over. We kind of kept the,
We didn't have any numbers to give you.
right, as far as the grants, you know, if we would be eligible or not.
They were talking about a $1 million, then they were talking about 10%, now they went to 30%, so it's no matter what
Wow.
we said, it could have been changed the next day, so we just waited until we got everything finalized.
Nice. Good.
We'll have to do a public hearing to accept that. Which I don't
We'll
think.
have to have
anybody's
a
gonna look at. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. That's good news. Best for last, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Any other new business items, or that kind of takes the cake, I guess.
I
So,
just wanted to point out under the additional information, did you guys see the legislative
yes,
bulletin? About the remote meetings? Looks like there's
Yeah.
a hearing
get a
tomorrow,
chance to
one
read
on
it.
Thursday. What's that?
so it's just basically telling us that they're trying to basically submit a bill to be able to do these virtual meetings and not have a quorum in the room. Is that essentially what this? I read it
Yeah, there's a couple different ways they're going at it, but I thought this would make John really happy.
correctly? Yeah.
It would make me happy if they get something done, you know?
Yeah, be nice.
So
Oh, I had.
this is kind of important to me, John. I think it's helpful for the board. If this were to occur, I don't know if this is something that we should weigh in on. What it's coming up tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow and Thursday.
Oh, the 25th. Yeah. Okay.
And the New Hampshire Municipal Association is advocating on our part.
So when is it coming up? Oh, the 27th.
25th.
Well, all right. Yeah, I see
27th.
that.
Yeah, there's two bills, so there's two different dates.
Huh. Hmm. All right, well, I don't know. I don't have time to do anything about this, but I'm just wondering if anybody did have time to send an email or something to,
Well, I certainly have expressed my opinion to both Maureen Mooney and Gary Daniels. I mean, Gary told me he agrees with it and he's trying to get it done, but he feels like there's somebody on the other side of the aisle blocking him because of something he did somewhere else. And I'm like, wow, okay, politics.
right, right.
So I don't know if that will persist or if somebody will get something done, but cross my fingers, I guess.
Right. Right. All right, well, that's good information. So I guess we just have a superintendent's report.
I just have one thing. I just want to make a point that our next meeting is, regular BOC meeting is February 28th at 5. And it's on the 28th. It's on a regular date. It's because of, we're going to be closed on the 21st and to observe President's Day. So I just want to mention that.
All right,
The
good.
office will be closed that day, the 21st as well.
Okay, and just to go over, what's the next schedule we have for, is there a budget hearing somewhere before that or not? Where are those? Just trying to look on this note here. Yeah, February 8th, special Board of Commissioner meeting for budget workshop if needed.
Yep.
So that's February 8th. Is that something we're pretty sure we're going to need?
Yeah, I think we're gonna just to get the budget in front of you. Well,
Yeah,
if we get it out early enough and everybody seems fine with it, other than if we don't have to make any changes, maybe we don't have to meet.
yeah. I guess we'll have to play it and see how it,
Yeah.
like you said, if that's the feeling, maybe we can dismiss it. It's not something you need an official vote at or anything at
No,
this.
it's just another work session if we haven't had to work on anything out, so.
Yeah, it's a workshop, so, okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm assuming there has been no filings for any elected positions at this point?
That doesn't start until next month.
Oh, it doesn't even open yet?
No, it's like,
Oh, yeah, February 2nd, that's right, okay.
Who's up, Don? Is it Ken or you or Wolf?
Kenny, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, okay. Don't forget to file, Ken. All right, so,
Yeah, was it February 8th or 9th?
I don't have the dates on me. I think it's like the 9th through the 18th.
it says filing dates for elected positions is February 2nd to the 11th.
Okay.
So there you go. All right. Questions from the press or public? Can anybody see if we have any outside participants here? It looks like we have 7.
Yeah, we've got one person that's on the phone.
Right. Okay.
Doesn't look like there's any hands up or anything.
All right, there's a name MP that starts over there, but if nobody, if that person doesn't have any questions, I don't see a hand up, like you said. And we don't have any press, so I guess that's the end of questions from press and public. So as Ron said, next board meeting is February 28th. So with that, there's nothing else to discuss. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ken, second by John. Do a roll call. Ken, how do you vote?
Yes,
John?
I,
And myself in favor as well, so 3-0-0, and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks for your time, guys, and we'll talk to you next time.
all right, have a good night.